Hey, hello. Welcome to episode number 108 of the People We Love podcast. I am Adam Choate. What's up? If you are new here, what I do is interview people from all walks of life, most often comedians and other artists, about their lives and careers. The conversation is casual, but I also ask everyone to highlight the people they love, who they admire, who influenced them, inspired them, or supported them. For more, check out peoplewelovepodcast.com. That's peoplewelovepodcast.com. And the Instagram handle is at People We Love Podcast. And you can find me on Instagram and Twitter as well if you want to follow me. At Adam Choate is the handle for those. And please remember to tap subscribe or follow on whatever platform you listen to podcasts on. And of course, positive 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts, iTunes are greatly appreciated as well. So, today's guest is Sacramento's own comedian Steve Furey. Growing up an only child of loving, albeit divorced parents, eventually Steve found his way into selling weed, first to his high school classmates and later to their parents. He thought his path would take him into a career in physical education, but stand-up was always his true calling. But we talk mom, dad, weed, cooking, and more. And Steve especially shows his appreciation for the super hardworking comedian Burt Kreischer, who Steve has learned so much from their time on the road. But let's just get started. Here's Steve Furey. All right, so it's good to see you today, Steve Furey. Thank you for joining me on the Zoom.
Happy to be here, Adam. Thanks for having me on your pod. We've been talking about doing this for a little while.
Oh, for sure. I appreciate the time. And looking at the image that's on screen here for me on Zoom, it looks like you're in outer space. But judging from the sounds, it sounds like you're cooking. So are you in outer space cooking?
I am out on outer space. I'm on Apollo 69. I'm on Apollo 420 on the Rocket 69. And I am chilling. I'm actually getting, this podcast is about people you like or whatever.
People you love. People we love.
Love. People I love. And, cooking right now reminds me of my dad really helped me to start cooking. And I feel it's something I'm very good at. And then today I just decided to get into, just do a little Mexican thing. Made some homemade Spanish rice. To be honest, some of the fucking best rice I've ever had in my life. I fucking murdered this. And then now I am cooking some pinto beans with some diced up peppers, and then I'm going to do some homemade al pastor probably when I get off with you, and I'm just going to let this shit simmer for a while.
Dude, that's some serious cooking. You post food on it. You post food on Instagram, or did I imagine that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't do often the I went to fucking Connie and Ted's or some shit on Santa Monica, but when I cook stuff, I try to do it because man, I think I'm pretty good. And I think the best things I'm cooking at are actually probably, I learned Mexican from my dad because growing up in Sacramento, California, I didn't come from, a lot of money. And Sacramento is a very diverse place. And my dad worked in the, those orange shirts, when you drive around, you see a guy in a big orange truck and orange shirt and he's working on the fucking street. My dad did that for a living. And it's a very diverse line of living. So he was always around a bunch of different people and he learned how to cook real deal Mexican food, and then he passed it on to me, and now I do it. It's just a little trick I have that I thoroughly enjoy.
Oh wow, that's cool. So why don't we just get into it? You said did you grow up in Sacramento or you grew up in LA? Where?
Oh no, I grew up in Sacramento, California. It's in Northern California, the Valley, kind of a very blue collar town. What the funniest thing about Sacramento is they hate LA. And then people in LA are like, where the fuck is Sacramento?
That sounds about right.
Yeah, that's always it's kind of got like people always tell me they feel like got like a New Jersey vibe or something. Maybe
I could
I'm
see
a little angry and got like a little, maybe an inferiority complex. And I think that's just something that you get from living in like a third tier city.
I'm learning a lot. I'm learning a lot already. Angry, inferiority complex, third rate city. You're funny.
I don't know if I'm angry anymore, but there's probably a time in my life, are you from LA? Huh?
I'm from New York, from Long Island originally, but I've been in LA a long time.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I don't know, man. When you come to LA, I mean, you just get chiller, mainly because there's marijuana seeping from every crevice of the city. And also it's kind of like, man, if you start comparing yourself to other people in LA, you're going to fucking lose your goddamn mind.
Right.
So really LA's like golf, man. You just got to compete against yourself as long as you're getting better. So that's kind of why I was maybe worse at competing against other people when I was younger, whereas now I just go against myself.
I gotcha. And what about like early memories, even in Sacramento, like like real young, like kindergarten or even before then? What jumps out at you? Did you have siblings? Kind of give me a little bit about more about your background.
Grew up as an only child with divorced parents. They divorced pretty early, about second grade, and then I kind of just did my own thing. They were great parents. By no means did I grow up, in a hovel or poor. I mean, if you did like the it's the way I grew up poor is the same way. If you look up your body mass index, you're obese. If you're
I gotcha.
And you're like, I don't think I'm obese, but it says I'm 30 pounds overweight. So in that case, I grew up lower class, but just a single kid with a divorced parent. It's pretty easy to provide for me. I never went hungry. But only child, grew up parents divorced. They worked 4 full jobs. I never really liked to ask people for stuff, So I just started doing my own thing. Started selling drugs when I was like 14. And I did that for probably till I was about 25. Then I did that when stand-up started becoming more, I thought it was going to work out more than me just wanting to smoke weed and not do shit.
So you were selling, we'll get into segments, but just to clarify, you were selling drugs while you were doing stand-up and at the same time kind of thing?
I sold weed when I was from 14 to probably about 26. I started stand-up at 22. It really started right when I started stand-up. The drug selling really started to peter out. It more peaked from about 14 to about 21, 22. And then within stand-up, it's like I thought I was pretty good. And I was like, I don't want to fucking go to jail for selling weed and not be able to get this dream that I had since I was a kid. Stand-up was the only.
Yeah, tell me more about being a kid. What were you into when you were like in elementary school? Like, were you watching TV? Were you into sports, music? Kind of like what you said. You kind of did your own thing. What does that entail?
I was just I don't know if I just felt like I kind of feel a little bit TV raised me. Just stood in front of a TV, played video games, did a lot of sports. I played football from 6th grade to senior year. I tried out for the JC at local JC, but I just kind of fell out of love with it, and maybe I wasn't good enough to play college. Probably more likely. Like, we don't get to pretend that. And then I just that was it. I was into just kind of normal shit that everyone's into as a kid, but I was just by myself playing board games by myself, doing a bunch of weird shit like that. Not saying I didn't have friends, but being an only child is a very isolating thing. Not that I didn't enjoy it.
Sounds like you had a decent balance actually between like being on your own and also participating in sports and school things or whatnot.
Well, it's interesting. It's really interesting, man. And I this is going to sound like a psychopath kind of thing I'm about to say, but I have bodies in my basement. No. What I'm about to say is I kind of feel like I was always supposed to do stand-up because the way I was raised, like being with divorced parents. I don't know if your parents were divorced, but you kind of like to live like a little hobo. You got like a little bindle. You go to one place, you take out your shit. Then a couple of days you move there, and then you're by yourself a lot. You got to find your own stuff to do. And that really translates to the relatively isolating life that stand-up comedy can be, because you're going to be on your own. You're going to need to find shit to do your own. And if you don't like that, it's going to be a problem. I'm fine. Every weekend I'm gone somewhere else by myself mostly. And I really feel like almost everything I've done in my life has allowed me to be good at my job now. Smoking weed and doing drugs a lot more as a kid has now made it so I'm older and doesn't really affect me that bad. And I already got most of it out of my system, and allows me to keep going. I'm drinking beer right now, but it's a Michelob. It's barely beer.
I follow what you're saying for sure. You've had experience, so you're able to, in a sense, handle these things in your adult life.
Yeah, and it seems serendipitous, man. It's like if a kid grew up being a lumberjack or some shit and then became a firefighter. It's like, wow, these things just seem to really work together great. And so that's kind of what I did as a kid. I was always had a lot of friends and shit, man. Pretty good, decent growing up. I wouldn't say I was popular, but I had a fun time.
What about stand-up being a dream? Because you said it kind of was your dream. Was it just to be in comedy, be funny, be a performer? And when did that sort of become a thing? I know obviously it sounds like you watched a lot of TV, so maybe it was a gradual thing, but was there a moment or something that
You know what's actually a funny story, man? And I remember the exact moment. Well, stand-up really started getting into my mind because my dad had these old tapes of stand-up. Like he had a Louis Anderson one for some reason and a Tim Allen one. Tim the Toolman Taylor. And we'd have like a party or something, family get together. Once it became like 11:30, he would like bring it out like someone was going to bring out like cocaine at a party when you're 22 or something. He brings it out, makes sure no one's looking. He's like, I got
because stand-up is subversive, or it can be for sure.
Yeah. And so he's like, I'm going to play this little thing, and then everyone gathered around, and then they would watch this thing, and I was like, I like what that is. And then I remember I was 15. I was dating my high school girlfriend, Sarah. She was a senior. We were driving in her car. And, I was always the kid who just couldn't stop talking ever. I was always sent out of the classroom. I was never like I fought people, but I was never like a bully or like, I just could not shut my fucking mouth. And so I remember being in my girlfriend's car. Ex-girlfriend now, obviously from high school, Sarah, and she was with her friend Kara. And we're all talking about what we want to do. And I was like, I have no idea. They're like, well, what do you like to do? And I was like, I enjoy making people laugh. And then they're like, well, why don't you be a stand-up comedian? And then I remember like it almost being like a movie where like I stood still and the rest of the day kind of happened. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. And then from I think I was 15 or 16. I was like, I started writing in my phone. I had a page of notes in my phone of jokes. And I just kept writing them. And I remember I was like, when I'm 18, I'm going to do it. And when I was 18, I didn't do it. I was like, when I was 19, I'm going to do it. When I was 19, I was going to come, didn't do it. When I was 21. And then I remember on my 22nd, in the middle, right after my about 4 or 5 months after my 22nd birthday, I did it. And then I just never stopped. And I mean, literally never stopped. And you can talk to my family. I just did it every day, as many times a day as I could. And it's a great, like where I am right now is pretty great. I'm like, I get to open. I'm definitely not rich. I live in West Hollywood, but it's like a very tiny apartment. But, I get to live my dream. But in the beginning, it's hard being a stand-up comic, especially when you tell people. I mean, it's still hard. It's still like when you tell people you're a stand-up comic, it's like telling people you're a DJ. It's like, all right, idiot, what fucking weird world are you living in? That this is not a real profession. And, turned out okay. And I just never stopped because, it's a stupid profession to even think that you want to do. It's like, how do you even do that? There's no school you can go to, but it's just keep going nonstop and be a crazy person. It kind of worked out.
Were you writing that whole time between ages 15 and 21? Like even though you didn't perform yet, were you writing that whole time?
You want to know? It was even when I was a kid, man. When I was a kid, I would like mow the lawn. I remember mowing the lawn. That was my job. It would take me forever. And in my head, I would be getting in arguments with people and I would be coming up with replies to make fun of them in their head. Like if anyone ever came and if anyone, my eyebrows are too big. And I'm like, well, your fucking feet are too big or something, and I'd put that in my head and I'll just do that over and over and over again. And then when I became, got cell phones, I always had a little file where I was just writing jokes all the time, not all the time. Like I'm a fucking autistic kid, like regularly. Right. Because the way there's different ways a stand-up comedian will write jokes. There's like the guys that are like Mike Birbiglia or some shit. Oh, I forgot I was cooking beans.
Is that what that was? That's Mexican jumping beans. Is that what that is?
Yeah.
I was like, damn. I thought somebody threw something at you. I was like, yo, your roommate is like fucking with you or something like that.
But yeah, they popped.
That was great.
It's just staring. But like there's different ways people write. Not even comedians. There's just a way everybody writes. There's a way of someone can write. They can just sit down and write. Like to me, that's crazy. I don't know how a human being could actually do something like that. Just sit down and pump out fucking art. That's crazy. And then there's other people that mine's more of a muse where I walk around, see something. The way I write. Like back then, I would just think of something and I'd write it down on my phone, and then I would just never look at it again. Whereas now, I'll go out through the day, and if you ever meet my girlfriend, we'll be driving somewhere, and I'll be like, write down pickle fish dick in my notes. And she's like, what? I was like, just write down pickle fish dick in my notes. And then I'll write that down. And then normally about once a week or once every 2 weeks, I'll come to my computer and I'll have a list of all these things that a lot of them are kind of new. I don't even remember them. And then I'll write them from there. And then I got these things called shower pads. They're like a notepad you can write in the shower.
Wow.
Like a little, just it's a pencil too, kind of like rubbery paper. And then I'll go and write a list of the jokes. And then I write most of my jokes in the shower because kind of sounds like applause when the water's going on your head. I don't know.
Is that what it is? No, I have heard that people do their best thinking in the shower. I don't know. I guess maybe is it because we're free from distractions and we're relaxed? Is it that simple? I don't know what it is. The water flow makes our mind flow. The movement. It just seems like that is a legitimate thing. I bet there's science behind it. Maybe even.
Yeah, it's probably it's like the closest thing you get like an isolation tape or some shit. Where the water's drowning out your sound. And I don't know. Somehow in there. I mean, I wish I could argue with people from the shower because I destroy people in arguments while I'm taking a shower.
Dude, you like arguing. You like to win. Is that what it is? What is it about? You want to be a lawyer? Is that your alternative career? That your alternative dream?
I think, you know what, man, I don't like to, I actually have this large aversion to pain or unhappiness or anything like that. And I hate it so much, like arguing. I don't ever want to argue with nobody. I don't want to yell at somebody. I don't do any of that shit. So, and I think my huge aversion to it is I'm so scared of it happening. I'll fight someone. I've been in probably 40 fights in my life. I did a lot more as a kid, but it's just like now I more just think of reasons of how to make it go well rather than me actually being like prepared for it. Like I'm more like, it's like buying a gun. I'm buying a gun because in case someone robs me, not me trying to go out and shoot people.
I see. So it's sort of therapy and it's sort of like training in case the real thing happens. It sounds like.
Yeah. Either way, it's insane. I'm a fucking crazy person, but whatever.
I don't know about that. I don't know if I have a lot of art. I have conversations. I guess I just have. I imagine how conversations would go in the future with certain people that I encounter. I guess sometimes they're arguments. Sometimes they're other things, depending on who the person is. I got you. So it sounds it sounds like your dad. I was gonna say it sounds like your dad was an influence on the early comedy and an influence on you cooking wise. Like he taught you cooking and he influenced the comedy stuff.
Yeah, I mean, anyone's influenced by their dad, but luckily I had a pretty good one. I had a good mom too. They both did what they could with their jobs and provided for me and everything. My dad, he's just a chill guy, hardworking. He owns his own house, so that was always impressive. I was, especially getting to my age now, I'm like, damn, motherfucker, you really got a house. It's not like a crazy house, like a 2-bedroom house, but he's honestly the guy that probably told me how to not be lazy and to go for things and to try and work really hard because sometimes I think I'm lazy, but then I'm not. And I think I got my work ethic from him. My mom is very smart, very calculated. So I think I got that from her. And they're both great people. And I'm very lucky that both in my life. Some people don't have either. So it's a blessing.
Oh, that's cool. I feel like I have a little bit. It's almost like a fear of others thinking that you're lazy or you thinking that you are lazy yourself, especially when you smoke weed or you're like watching TV or doing lazy things. Not that we shouldn't be doing lazy things. We have to all relax and decompress, but you do sort of get those thoughts, especially I'm sure as a comedian who's writing all the time. How come I'm not writing that right now? I should be at a club right now. I should be working on my script. I should be doing something, but you can't really think that way. You just have to like manage your time and balance it and do what's, but I mean, I guess we all can work harder, but is that something that goes on with you? Is it a fear of laziness, man? Even?
No, it's not the fear of laziness. It's fear of, once again, going back to my job. It's easy listen, if I stayed the same way I am right now professionally, I'd be fine. I'd make a very meager living, but I would be very happy. But I want to keep going and getting better, and there's some accolades I want. But I just don't want to look. So doing stand-up, you fail so much, so many times, nonstop, especially in the beginning. I mean, you're failing for years. you may be getting 1 out of 10 spots are good, 1 out of 10 mics. You're just doing open mics, and I got comfortable with failing in the sense that if I failed, but I did everything I could before then, like prepared myself and worked hard, then failing isn't really my fault. There's nothing I could have done. So that's really one of my driving factors that makes me work hard on things. It's like in 20 years, if I'm still in a shitty little West Hollywood apartment, am I going to look back and be like, fuck, man, I should have tried harder? Or am I going to be like, you know, man, I couldn't dunk. No matter how much I would have fucking jumped every day, I wasn't going to dunk. I tried to dunk and it didn't work out. So that's really what really drives me, is just the possible sadness in the future.
No, that's good. That's called having insight and foresight and all those things. And like not having regret. I think that's the big thing that you're sort of saying. And it's that certainly drives me too. So when you were in high school selling weed, that must have made you somewhat popular with other people. Like, tell me a little bit about. I want to get into like, you know, where you thought what you'd be doing as far as, did you go to college? What happened after high school? I'm just a little more curious about like the selling the weed in high school and what that world is like for you, was like for you.
Well, I've always been kind of a guy who likes clothes. Like if you look at my place, it's like I almost live in a closet. I got like 30 pairs of shoes and shit like that.
Look at you.
Actually, probably way more than 30 to be. I mean, I have 30 in boxes new.
Like, are you like a sneaker head, as they call it? Is that
yeah, but I'm a little bit different than everybody else, where like everybody else wants, like, there's like specific shoes that I like to buy. I think I only own 1 pair of Jordans and a couple pair of Dunks, but there's just like special ones I like to buy, and I just get addicted to them. And I've always been like that, but I just don't like asking people for shit for my parents. So I was also started smoking weed. So I was like, well, I can't get a job. I'm 14 or 15. So then I started, selling weed, and then just kept doing that. And maybe, I mean, I was homecoming king, so I guess I was pretty popular. But I wasn't like a drug empire. It was just kind of like 30 kids every Friday would want some weed. So every Friday I would go buy 30 bags of these weeds and then would sell them that weed. And then I would have some weed for me for the weekend and $200. And then I just kind of did that. I mean, it grew quite a lot over time, but when it first started, that's all it was.
That's a pretty damn good system you have worked out there, and you knew your market and you served the market. It's business. Yeah,
and I helped my friends out too. I gave them cheaper weed than they could get. It like worked for everybody. I was never like gouging people or anything like that.
Right. The market works. Did you ever come close to getting in any trouble or hot water with anyone, teachers, administrators, the law, anything like that?
I got in trouble a lot as a kid, but you know what, man? Especially the way I dressed as a kid, I would always wear like and I bought most of this for myself, like a polo shirt and like a pair of jeans and like a nice pair of sneakers, and I didn't look like I was selling drugs ever. I didn't look like I look like Carlton Banks almost.
And this was because you like clothes, not because you were trying to disguise yourself in any way. It's just like you were into
No, you keep going.
No, that's it. I was just going to ask that. Like, what was is it just about buying clothes? Or
50-50, those clothes at the time, I don't know how old you are. I'm 32. And, there's kids in my age that would wear 2 polos at the same time, 2 different collars up. So those were they were in, but I also wasn't like one of the white guys who's wearing giant. I mean, at some points I was, but at that time, giant clothes and stuff. So I just didn't look like, extreme white privilege. I looked like a white kid wearing a fucking polo, wearing rainbow flip-flops.
Yeah, you weren't
a nice haircut.
Yeah, you didn't have super duper baggy, even if they're designer jeans below your ass.
Yeah.
I got
exactly.
you.
And not that there's anything wrong with that, but
right. You could have would have fit the role as the weed guy. And high school people were like, oh, that, that's how, whatever. He looks the part.
Yeah. If I don't want people to know I play football, I won't wear a football jersey, essentially. That's kind of what I was doing.
Yeah. Did you ever have any customers that you were surprised that were customers? Or like, wow, that person smokes weed in my school, or that even an adult? Did you ever have any surprise customers?
It was definitely more of when I was like out of high school. And then like everyone's parents just started buying weed for me, and that was so much better. It was just like everyone's. I was like, motherfucker, you used to get me in trouble for this shit. Now you're buying goddamn weed for me. But those are best when you get old people or like older people, because then they buy it. It's very regimented. It's always, hey, in 2 weeks on a Friday, come here and I'll give you it. Just come by my house and I'll buy an ounce. So then you go and you flip an ounce real quick. And that was always fun once you get into older people. When you're a kid, it's like you're sacking out like $10 sacks and trying to give them going out through bathrooms and shit. Well, that's not fun.
Yeah, I got you. So business got better. And what about like junior, senior year, like high school? Where did you think your life would be going? What were your plans? Did you go to college? Did you work? Obviously you said you started to dive into stand-up at 21, but what about the early 20s? Where were we headed?
You know what, man? So in high school, I didn't even apply to any colleges because I knew, I didn't get good grades. I was a 2.8, I swear, from like fucking first grade to graduating college. And I just knew it wasn't for me, but I knew I was going to do it anyway. So when I coming out of high school, I literally was like, I want to be a PE teacher. Just like, seems like an easy job. I like kids a lot. I like kids a lot. So out of high school, I started to go the path of being a teacher. I ran this after school program for underprivileged youth for like 2 years. That was real fun. Just hanging out with kids. I really get along with kids. So then I was going on this path of just being a teacher. So I was going to get like a weird communications degree, just be like a PE teacher with a kinesiology. And then in the middle of college, go away to college, and I paid for myself with grants and stuff like that. So the shit took me like fucking 6 years. Not like I was going full time or anything like that, but it took me a little while because I had to. And then once I got that, I felt like I could go fully into stand up and not embarrass my parents because they knew I at least had a backup for in case I fail.
So you did finish college. You got like the degree or the accredited ship or whatever that word is.
Yeah, I went to Sac State. Little state school.
Tell me what you really think of it. I gotcha. So you never actually got into to teach the phys ed. You kind of just.
No, I ran that after school program. I was like like out of school. And like I was essentially like not a principal, but like I ran this whole. They're just out of school. Every school has them. And then I would have kept doing that. I did that up until I was doing that and stand up until I moved here. And then when I moved here, I stopped doing that. And I was gonna pick up some shifts there, but then I got this other crazy ass job. But yeah, I thought I was gonna be a PE teacher, man, because it looked easy. And I just liked easy things. I didn't really ever want to be a lawyer or anything like that. I never even wanted to be a PE teacher. It just seemed like if I was going to get kicked in the balls, I'd pick the littlest person to do it. And that seemed like
that makes sense. That makes sense. Did the kids in the after school program ever know that you A, did stand up, or B, sold weed?
No. When I started getting the schools thing, obviously I never sold weed to kids. That's crazy.
I assumed.
And plus, this was a K through 6, so
they don't have money anyway.
Yeah. What are they gonna trade me? Wafers and milk? No, they didn't really know. No, they didn't know stand up. I would have to talk to like the program knew that, some days I'd be leaving early because I got to go to San Francisco or Oregon or something. And they worked with me, which was really cool. The kids, I didn't tell anything until the last day of school. I threw a pizza party. Not just like Little Caesars, but then I got a lot of Little Caesars. I think like 20 or 40 of them. Just I was like, everyone's we're going to pizza it out. And then I said why I'm leaving. And then they all made me a card. It was really nice. I think I got it somewhere.
That's awesome.
Was all good. Yeah, it was great.
How old were the kids? How old were the kids?
K through 6. So I ran almost all of them, and then I did all of them, but most of the time I was with the 6th graders because I was kind of, I don't know, 6th graders. When they're real little, it's like, what am I even doing? It's like this little thing that doesn't even do anything. 6th graders kind of got personalities, and you can middle with them, and they can be like, oh, this is at least the cool teacher that I'm like, just do your homework and then you can do whatever you want. I don't care.
Do you keep in touch with any of these kids?
No, I think one kid was we're friends on PlayStation 5, but we never played the same game. So I never really got to hang out, never got to talk to him or anything.
I thought you were gonna say they found you on social media because you're a comic and a public figure. You're like, no, on PlayStation. That's where they found me.
I'm probably not cool compared to them, man. You know, they're probably trying to find someone way cooler than some whatever the fuck.
Dude, I forget that I'm in my late 30s and there's other people who are in their 30s who I think are cool, or like even in their late 20s who I think are cool, or even in their early 40s who I think are cool. But then I have the realization of what you just kind of had, is that like there's a lot of young people who think they're way cooler, don't even think of us in the same hemisphere.
Can I imagine if I was in 6th grade and I thought of a 30-year-old man? I'm like, you gross old fuck. I don't care about anything you're doing.
Right. That's how
play Roblox.
Yeah, life is interesting like that. Tell me about the comedy in Sacramento and the journey, because it sounded like you ascended fairly quickly from just being nervous about going up for the first time to traveling out of town while you were still based in San Francisco. What was that sort of creative journey and that overall journey like for you in that area?
So Sacramento was cool because it has 5 comedy clubs there at the time it did. So you could get work and then you could get time there. Because if you're gonna, I don't know, everyone always dreams. I mean, not everyone. People always want to do stand up. And so my suggestion would be, do not go to LA to start. You never want to start in a big place. That's like playing a video game and starting on the hardest level. It's like you might be able to build it, but you really should learn your fundamentals somewhere else. So luckily, being in like a 3rd tier city, I mean, I think there's probably 20 tiers of cities. I think Sacramento is a pretty great place and I love it very much. But it's not San Francisco and it's not LA. So I went to Sacramento, started hitting the open mic circuit, started getting in with everybody. People are seeing me at every open mic. Then I start getting in with a couple clubs. And then these clubs, once you start getting in with the club, on the weekends, they'll let you do a guest spot, which is an unpaid spot, about 5-7 minutes. But then you get to practice in a real crowd. You know, I'm doing it in a bar crowd. Open mics are fucking terrible. Imagine if all you want to do is go to this dive bar and get drunk. And there's some guy yelling about his dick and gun rights and just like shit that it doesn't fucking matter. You hate him, he hates you. It's a terrible existence. But then once in a while you get to do the guest spot where I go in the comedy club. So then I was at this place, Laughs Unlimited. And then that lady started liking me so much, she would let me do it every week, once a week. And then she would let me do it every show once a week. So that's like 4 shows a week. So then I started getting in front of real people. Because a lot of times when you do stand up and you do it in front of open micers, they're crazy people. They're just crazy people that think they can do stand up, or just insane people that want to yell on the microphone. So making them laugh really isn't what is going to make America laugh. So then I started getting the comedy clubs, started getting better there. Once I got past at all the comedy clubs in Sacramento at about 2-3 years in, I then migrated to San Francisco. Started doing the same thing there. Hit all the open mics. Meet everybody.
You moved to San Francisco?
I moved in the middle with a place called Vacaville. It's right in the middle, so I could still do both. And also, the girl I was dating at the time lived there, and I was staying with her. So, and then I would go to San Francisco more, do that, brought my way up there. And then once I got past at all the clubs in Northern California, I came to LA and then got in with the Comedy Store. I mean, it's a little longer story than that. It wasn't that easy, and then the Comedy Store helped me a lot.
Yeah, I can kind of like sort of fill in the gaps just based on your journey in Sacramento, because it sounds like you just went about it the right way. You kept going, you kept showing up, you kept gradually ascending and getting more gigs and meeting new people. And it sounds like you were able to navigate your way through the scene without too much drama. Did you encounter any drama or issues with other comics, promoters, people stealing money, stealing jokes, all that kind of craziness and nonsense, or have you been able to avoid?
Yeah, I've had a few people steal jokes. One of them was this guy in LA. I'm not going to say his name. He came up to Sacramento to do a comedy competition where the winner got some money, and he thought he was going to win. I ended up beating him. And then when I came to visit LA a year later, I saw him doing one of my fucking jokes they took that I beat him with. And then that doesn't happen as much as you really think. But that guy just thought I probably was never going to go anywhere and he was going to be able to just steal the joke. So that didn't work out for him. People not paying you. That really doesn't happen that often, especially now where I have the check app on your phone, where immediately someone gives me a check, I take a picture of that bitch, put it in my bank account, and then I leave the club. That one helps then. I mean, the big thing in the beginning is that a lot of older comics that are kind of losers, but have done it for a long time and do like shitty road gigs in like small towns, they'll kind of take advantage of you. You know, they'll be like, hey, do you want to open for me in Bakersfield? And you'll be like, yeah. He's like, cool, you got to drive. And you're like, okay, that makes sense. And then you go, and then he also doesn't pay for gas. And he also only pays you $35 to do the gig. And that kind of happens, but that's also just kind of the culture.
Right. Paying your dues, I guess, to some degree.
You're just paying your dues. Yeah. So that kind of sucks. And it's definitely skeezy, but I definitely had to do that. I've never done that to anybody, but I've had to do that. Other than that, man, I just kept working, did the same plan, bust your ass as hard as you can do it, be as funny as you can. If I'm working hard and I'm funny, if I fucking fail at this, I don't know. I threw everything at the board.
No, that's the right attitude. Did your mom and dad come out to see you sort of in the early days in Sacramento? And what was their reaction?
Yeah, man. Oh man, that's a good question. My mom was in the beginning, she was okay with me doing stand-up, but she was just pretending. She was like talking shit behind my back, being like, why is he doing this? He's wasting time.
How do you know that? Because you know her.
People would tell me, yeah, I know her. And I just knew that she was nice to me. I mean, I'm talking shit. She was probably just like, I don't know why he's doing it. I'm not being like, this guy's a fucking bum, stupid haircut. Just being like, I don't know why he's doing this and wasting his life. My dad was my dad was a little bit more open. He thought it was just I needed to stop. Because also I'm in Sacramento doing open mics at bars on a Tuesday. Who would have thought that this would have worked out whatsoever? And then one of the first shows they came to see me at was a comedy competition. The first it's a comedy competition. It's a 2-day competition, 3-day competition. They went to all 3. First day, I brought all my friends. I think I had 50 people that were my friends there. Smashed. Because, your friends are just happy to see you. Smashed. Felt like a movie star. Next day, 10 people come. My parents included. Do pretty good. Now I'm in the championship round. There's 5 of us, 5 competitors. I bring only my parents because I've ran out of. No one wants to see me 3 fucking days do the same jokes.
Right.
I do it. Turns out the other guy in the competition switched it. He didn't bring anybody in the beginning. And at the end, he brought 50 people. And then the second I went on stage, he went right before me. He goes out of the green room and then takes 50 people. There's probably 70 people in the crowd, maybe 65, and takes them all outside. And so my dad just watched me like bomb in front of 12 people in this or there might have been he might have had way more people and there might have been more people. It was a pretty big venue, probably like a $1.50 venue. Just watching me bomb in front of nobody. And they got, it's obviously the guy screwed me over. And then that fucked him up for a long time. It was hard for him to come to comedy shows for a really long time.
Yours or anybody's?
Mine, because he just didn't want to see me fail and be embarrassed.
Wow. That stinks because I'm sure you tried to explain that like this is the nature of the beast with comedy and some nights aren't, but they saw you do okay before. What the hell, man?
Yeah, but I mean, being embarrassed is being embarrassed. If I'm outside and my pants fall down, my dick flops in the wind. I mean, the reason was I wasn't wearing a belt. It's still fucking embarrassing though.
Yeah. Yeah.
It took him a while to be okay with it.
He was more traumatized than you were by bombing. How do you deal with bombing? Like,
man, I mean, to be honest, so it's, different times. In the beginning, you just keep going because if you don't, then you should just quit. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I don't bomb that often.
That's great.
I'm pretty good. I've played all the big clubs and everything. And now it's to the point where I know if I'm bombing, it's probably, if you look at the statistics, on you guys rather than it is on me. Because if you looked at it, the last 10 shows I did good. And then also at this point, if I bombed, depends the stakes. If there's a stake, like if it's an industry showcase would be something. If there's a bunch of agents, casting people, stuff, and I bomb that. That doesn't feel good. Actually, I had one of those. No one was doing good, which is the funny thing. Stand up, at least for me, it's a lot like sports, I equate it to like a football team, whereas the whole stand up is a football team. And, we're all on a team and I want everyone to do good, but I want to be the starting quarterback. You know what I mean? I want you to start a wide receiver. I want this guy to do, I want all of us to make money, but I want to be a little bit more important.
Sure.
And so when I remember everyone's going up and bombing. I'm like, these motherfuckers ain't me. They're not special like me. I can break any crowd. And I went up there and I ate a dick. And I mean, this is a big industry thing. I'm talking like the head of casting at Fox, all the management plays at Brillstein, 3 Arts, CAA. They're all there. And I mean, everyone bombed.
That hurt. Why though? Why is it? It's just because the crowd, the industry people, they're not there to laugh. They're there to watch and study. And it's a weird vibe that puts extra pressure on it. Is it really that? Industry people don't laugh? Is that what it is? Is that a thing?
It's a 50-50 thing there, man. Okay. So the industry people, some of them do, some of them want to have a good time, man. That's the good one. But then some of them, if there's a room of all your peers and everyone, they're all competing against each other.
They don't want to play their cards. Laughing. They don't want to play their hand.
Yeah. Yeah. And also you're not going to laugh if the other guy next to you is not laughing. That's the whole thing of why a comedy show has to be dark, because you need to feel comfortable to laugh. Whereas in the light, might think people are looking at you if you laugh at the wrong thing or the wrong moment. So I think on that one, everyone was just in a bad mood and then they didn't want to do it. I've had a bunch of industry shows that have been great and they've been cool. That one sucked though. That put me in a bender. I went on a bender for like 4 days where I was just out of it. And then I came up out of it and I was like, all right, we're just gonna keep working.
Sounds like it was totally not your fault. And I know comedians probably don't want to make excuses. You don't like to blame the crowd, but every crowd and every situation is different, and some are more challenging than others. And I saw you perform recently, and I could tell that you probably don't bomb very often, because when something might not work or might not work as well as you might want it to, you're able to improv and bounce back and still be funny and like still keep going. That's kind of what I noticed about comedians, and how I can kind of tell. I'm not a stand-up, but I like to watch a lot and go to as many shows as I can. And it's the ones who are able to bounce back when something doesn't work, or make lemonade out of lemons or whatever. That's how I can tell if someone's been at it a while.
Well, a lot of it is addressing what's happening. That can be, if someone is like talking in a room and you're telling jokes, most of the people are hearing them talk. Right. And then as a comedian, you have to be in control of the crowd. The crowd is allowing you to talk at them and is allowing you to control their emotions. So when you seem weak up there, if someone's talking or someone flipped over all these plates and they all crash, you just got to address it. And I've gotten pretty good at, if something doesn't work, I can address it, make it funny and flip it and over again. I have never bombed for an hour, like headlining set. That would seem like it would fucking suck.
Yeah.
That would be to eat a dick for an hour would be traumatizing. The worst ones are you'll do these colleges, man, and you get paid a decent amount of money, because colleges every year allocate a certain amount of money to entertainment, and they have to spend it. So, but the thing is, they leave the shows and up to running them to kids, like the treasury department of like the fucking college, and they don't know how to promote shit. So you'll fly into Mississippi, Chattanooga or some shit, and you'll show up to Chattanooga University and there's a microphone in the cafeteria, no one there. And then you show up and they're like, you have to do 45 minutes. Here's your check. You get the check, you put it in your back pocket, and you just talk to 6 people for 45 minutes in a cafeteria. So those kind of suck, actually.
But you still get paid.
But you get paid. My whole thing, right whenever I get paid before a show and I know it's going to be bad, I always put it in my back pocket. I think Dan Cook said this one time when he said he was bombing. He said he got paid $10,000 at the time. He got paid $10,000 to this show when he first started. I'm not in that category, especially back when he was famous. I was probably even way more money. And he goes, he got this one check and he put it in his back pocket. And as a comedian, a lot of times we can talk and think of stuff in our head that are completely different. And he was like, he just kept touching his back pocket, being like, that's the check. No matter how good or bad I do, I'm walking out of here richer than I came in.
There you go. What about some of the other highlights, even in LA, in the LA journey? Anything jumps out at you? Because I know I don't want to take up too much more of your time.
Yeah, in LA, I was lucky to get in this place called the Comedy Store. It's like the, I don't know, Harvard of comedy clubs. And so with that, I was able to hang out with like Joe Rogan and Theo Vaughn. So I've been able to open for Theo Vaughn. I've been able to open for, I've done shows with Joe Rogan at the Comedy Store. I've been going on the road with him. I went on the road with a guy named Bobby Lee. And through the Comedy Store, I was able to get signed by this management company that also has this guy named Burt Kreischer. And then I knew this other comic named Dave Williamson who was opening for Burt, and the management company and Dave suggested me to Burt. And then I got to open for Burt Kreischer during the pandemic, which was like a 40 city tour of drive-in movie theaters.
It's amazing.
And yeah, I learned so much from that guy, man. It's amazing. He's constantly working. That's really what kicked up my working habits even more. I just see the guy always on his phone recording some fucking video for YouTube or Instagram. And the cool thing with him, man, is he's known as a party. That's like his thing. He's a party. That's why his shirt's always off. So then, like, every day when we're on the road, I was in a giant. I was like what rock stars were doing, man. A fucking big old bus with like 8 beds in it, and there's a bar, and we have this runner. We have this guy who like his only job is every day I give him a list of the shit I want. I can't be like PlayStation 5s or nothing, but I'm like bottle of Casamigos tequila, some other shit. So then in every day that we didn't have a show, Burt would have something planned like boating, Sedona hike, riding horses, CrossFit training. And it's like he would then record all that, chop it up, put it into videos and content. And it just blew my mind to see how hard, it's like you get close to Michael Jordan. Not Burt's not Michael Jordan, but I mean, he's like Scottie Pippen. He's pretty popular. And you get to see how they work and you go, okay, fuck, man. I was hoping just raw talent and trying a little bit would get me there.
I know the feeling, my friends. Like, wow. Yeah.
You're just like, fuck, it is actually as much work as it looks like. And then I just turned it up since I hung out with him. And he's been the most, my manager, Alex Goodman, is also another great guy. But Burt has been probably one of the most influential people on my comedy because it's just fucking how hard you got to work for what you want to be.
Wow. Yeah. It's funny because I was going to ask you sort of that question is like, what did you learn from either Burt or other comics, whether it be something about the creative process or about the business itself? But really, it sounds like the most important thing is just by being around someone with a great work ethic is almost, it just sends you signals that you have to up your game, essentially, is the biggest thing.
That's why you intern at fucking better law firms and banking places, is because you got to learn from these people. You got to soak in their shit, and then you got to learn how to do it.
That's the number one thing as far as like how to become something is what I'm learning. And I'm seeing people express is that like you want to be around somebody who's where you want to be, essentially, or on the way, or whatever the case may be.
100%, man. 100%. Because you got to know what's going on. Because, if I just stayed in Sacramento, I've never seen anyone truly succeed. I've seen people have livelihoods, but nothing what this guy's doing. And then you look at them and you're like, oh, well, this guy just tries. Cat, you're going to catch on fire. He seems to be just putting in a minimal amount of effort. He'll be fine. And it's like, nah, you go with these big dogs and they're doing as much effort as you can ever think of doing.
When you say you're working harder, more than maybe now than ever, partly because of Burt's influence, what area, I mean, I guess maybe it's posting on social media, maybe it's writing, performing, what is there a specific area of your career that you've been really upping your game in recently?
It's my social media shit, just trying to do that, just putting out whatever I can just to get engagement with people, putting out more clips. I knew one time I fucked up big time one time. Right when I opened for Burt, it was like on the 4th or 5th day. He's looking at my Instagram. He's like, hey, let me share one of your videos. I didn't have any of my stand-up videos up there. And he would have shared it to 2 million people that are comedy fans. So then from there, I was like, okay. So then I started putting out videos. Then I started putting out stupid, I got little clips on there from my podcast. I got little clips on there from little dumb TV show ideas that I make up. And then just pushing that. You can go.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, do you enjoy making these videos? Do you enjoy posting them? Do you enjoy the process of it? Do you enjoy, I mean, being in them? Like, is it almost like paralyzing in some way? It's always feeling like you have to post, or always feeling like you have to write down thoughts. Is that a lot to live with, or is it that you love this life? Like, what is it? It's a little bit of both.
I mean, I'd rather never have to do any of that part of it. I'd rather just show, like, I'd love for it to be the 90s where people just want to go to a comedy club and see new people and they find shit organically, but it's not like that now. I don't really like doing it, but it's kind of part of the thing. So it's
right. Yeah.
It's another thing you want to do. You just have to, and I'm not great at it yet. So if I just keep trying hard, some shit's going to happen. I don't know, or it won't, whatever.
No regrets. No regrets. No regrets. Cool. Well, I think we covered a lot. Mom, dad,
Burt.
comedy, Burt, Sacramento, Los Angeles. Anything else?
Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to mention?
I'm good, man.
I'll kind of
Thanks for having me on your podcast.
Oh, for sure. Tell everyone where they can find you, follow you. Anything else you're working on? Do you write scripts? Are you an actor also? Any of that stuff?
Yeah, I do auditions and stuff. If you want to see, I used to co-host a show on E called Dating No Filter. You can find it on Amazon Prime. If you liked Blind Date back in the day, it's like that, but instead of like little voice bubbles popping up, it's me talking shit about people. And then follow me on Instagram at Scuba Steve Furey. I put different stand-up clips and little videos I make up there. If you find me funny on stand-up, you'll definitely like that. And then also I'm hitting a tour. I'm going on tour I got almost the next 3 months set up. If you're going to be in Phoenix, San Diego, San Francisco, kind of more of the Southwest, I will be there. Also, LA's coming back. You can always see me there. I have a podcast called World on Drugs, where I do a deep dive on a crazy criminal you've never heard of, and not like the criminals like everyone else does, like serial killers. I like drug dealers because I was one.
Me too.
It's not. Yeah, I like that shit.
People who bring people joy.
Yeah, exactly.
At least temporarily.
Yeah, at least temporarily. So I try to do deep dives on those guys, not like El Chapo or Griselda Blanco, but like Dawood, Ibrahim Kaskar, Kunsa, stuff like that, man. It's fun.
You ever interview any of these dealers on your show? It's just a solo thing where you're exploring history kind of thing.
You know what, man? I've been doing my kind of famous comedian friends, like 50K on Instagram. And so what we really do is it's about an hour long in-depth, this shit, all these podcasts exist, a long in-depth research paper on these people. Then I tell it to my friend and we try and make it funny. I feel like I should start having, but how do I get in contact with criminals like that anymore? I don't do that shit anymore.
Dude, I don't want to give you any more work already because Burt's already put enough on your plate.
Please no.
With the examples he set for you. Again, thank you. I'll let you enjoy the rest of your evening. And let's talk soon. I'll keep you posted with everything.
See you later, bud.
So there you have it. My conversation with Steve Furey. Damn it, him and Burt Kreischer are making me feel like I seriously need to up my game in all areas of my creative and career pursuits. For real though, Steve is hilarious and I really appreciate him taking the time. But anyway, for everything about this show, of course, head to peoplewelovepodcast.com. That's at People We Love Podcast on Instagram. And I'm at Adam Choid on Instagram and Twitter if you want to follow me. And I think that's about all I got for today. I appreciate you guys listening. Thanks as always. And let's talk soon. Peace.